Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья.
Hello, my dear friends. We are starting our online class on the Secret Doctrine of HPB. We congratulate everybody who's joined us today and who's going to work with us. Today we are studying, along with you, the third stanza, third Sloka of the stanza. This is the fundamental stanza, the basis of all the 3 volumes of the Secret Doctrine. And here it's talked a lot about, and you are given a direction of the quality of light. The quality of light or the quality of thought, of time, is something you usually miss in your day-to-day life. And there aren't any words you can use to describe this quality. And the language we use is symbolism. Why is it so important when we are together to look and to open these symbolic signs written in the Secret Doctrine? That's because this is when you have a common goal shared within this forum among all of you, allows us to have this knowledge about the true meaning of words. The image of the truth, it's the symbol. And it begins to open when the symbol comes to life. And you see this world symbol, the world sign. You can see and you can hear, you can touch it. And this is an imminent condition of all the evolutionary movement of hierarchy. And you have the word language that can be understood by every nationality, every consciousness, everybody. People from different religions, countries, races even, they can understand this common language because the world language or the world symbols contained in these signs, they open themselves individually to each and one of you, and they are all in the same flow of eternity. That's why they can be understood not only by those who has a deep understanding of knowledge, because these signs are scattered all over you and you just need to pay attention to spot them. And now we'll try to focus to understand this quality of light, this quality of phrase, the quality of the stanza 3, Sloka 3, which is so great, so esoteric, that allows you to see the deep occult meaning of the secret doctrine itself. And we congratulate you from the bottom of our hearts and welcome you in our seminar. Today we have interpreters, Polina Romancheva and Ksenia Persova. Thank you so much for working with us and being online, helping us to understand, to convey these thoughts, researches, and discoveries, to answer questions of our participants. Don't forget to leave your questions in the Q&A session of Zoom. We will try our best to answer all of your questions. We will have some time dedicated to the Q&A section. We are already receiving questions from participants who have prepared themselves for the seminar, so they are ready. They know what we are going to talk about. They know about the second shloka, the first shloka of stanza 3, and they have questions connected to the shlokas. But at first, we are going to study the material to feel it, just to have the full understanding of this stanza and shloka. Maybe along the way, you'll be able to get the answers from the material we are going to study. So here we have the third shloka, third stanza, Secret Doctrine of HPB. And now the word goes to a person that has a line of thinking, a way of thinking, and he can connect the direction and time and the quality of consciousness and merge them together. We have received several letters before the start of the seminar, and several people have asked us about the importance of Kala Chakra at the beginning of each seminar. And you know, it's so important as the time itself, as the consciousness itself. It's as essential as the understanding of evolution. And if you understand Kala Chakra, you can understand the way the world works. So the words you are going to hear about the quality of time, about nidanas, we need to follow this train of thought. Of course, this is a very difficult material to understand, but if you have love for knowledge, love for understanding, love for making goals in your life, love for truth, you will be able to follow all the ideas that will be expressed during the seminar and all the opportunities that this day will bring to you, because each day is unique. So, Vladimir Yarov, the head of School of Theosophy, Moscow, Russia, award goes to you. Of course, as usual, we'll start with meditation, the food of the day, and the pearl of the East. So, who is a great man? He who is the strongest in patience, he who patiently endures injury and maintains a righteous life. He is a man indeed. This is the thought of the day that we are going to start with. For you to understand, I would like to give a short resume of the system. The system which tells us about the evolution of the consciousness, the evolution of consciousness of the planets, of the solar system, of the cosmos itself. And this constellation of ideas, the X of everything, is the human. Everything revolves around human. And this is the idea of the day, the idea that the human, which tries to convey an idea to us. And this idea is conveyed through me, today. That's how it is. And so the combination of nidanas, this is a chain of consequences and of our moral aspects. Because to be able to ascend your consciousness, you need to have the moral discipline, and moral discipline has its own order. First of all, it needs to awaken in you the sense of continuity, the rhythm, and the karmic law of consequences. And our ideas and our impulses and the consequences that follow after these impulses give us a phenomenon of some sorts. And this phenomenon is the condition of our life. So when you are able to take this famous quotes of Buddha that talk about the 8 rules, to have the right consciousness, and there are 8 different right things to do. Your reaction to the world allows you to create the necessary conditions, the right conditions, according to the evolutionary process that is in the moment, followed by the necessity that allows the person to be above the problems, above the suffering, and above the conditions that he has to create himself. and you have to be, to do things of your own volition. And each school of thought, each teacher inspires his students to do things. Without this, you won't be able to awaken your creativity. So, in other words, to cancel this instinct of following the collective thought and ideas, this power of creativity within you should be awakened for you to have your own process of thinking. So you need to think for yourself, because all the primal energies are the energies that give life through thoughts, and people are thinkers. And the calendar of Kalachakra, it tells us about the cyclical evolution of the human mind and all different kinds of minds and consciousness, starting from the elemental and coming to the united. All of this consciousness depend on the human thinker. So they depend on the human, the true human, that has patience and has patience to endure injuries. Because to be spiritual means to be patient. And patience, to be patient with everything in life, it depends on your ability to expand your consciousness, to be able to understand all the things that come your way in your life. Because you have the world of consequences, and on the other hand, you have your own will. And this will has the ability to use the conditions that will allow you to continue your evolutionary process, depending on the necessities of the evolutionary cycle that is happening right now. Because the world works in a way that that's a connection between the consequences, the reasons and consequences. It's like a ladder. You cannot skip a step in the ladder, because each step contains a special vibration of the ray that symbolizes with its color the character of individuality. Do you understand? So all of these energies, they are, if you take them seriously, they can awaken in you some kinds of impulses, because you are being under the work of the solar system, of the galaxy, and the galaxy works under the cosmos. So you, as being an X, you are a part of the evolution, as the solar system and as the planets are a part of the galaxy. And you are able to achieve the evolution of your mind. So it depends on you. And so the consequences are all done by the consciousness. So that's why we're studying the human, and understand at the same time it's his consciousness that should become, conscient. So you need to understand your life, your existence, and when you comprehend your existence, you can understand all of its different parts, and you understand the life through your eyesight, your hearing, and also your mental organs, because you are a constellation of some sort that has his own parts that allow you to resonate with the energy in space. And for your mind to evolve naturally, of course, at first, you need to awaken your consciousness. And to awake it, you need to do things in your life. And here we have a combination of nidanas for today. So let's take a nidana that tells us about the era, so the cycle, a big cycle. An era is 2,500 years, and in this cycle we live right now. So can you imagine? You need to be able to, sense through your life, stand this. And Mahayana speaks about that because in your life you are able to be free, from all of your your material existence, to be free from the illusions of this world. So that means if you are able to sense this energy of the blue monkey, this is the nidana that symbolizes this direction of the space, this orientation in space. This is a symbol of the sound, because it's situated on the ray of space that initially is the sound, the symbol of the moon. And on the background, there is some kind of sound also happening opposite to this ray. To be able to resonate with the era of Aquarius, the monkey tells us the beauty, following the idea of Nikolai Rerich, who said that understanding the beauty will save the world. So understanding the beauty, and beauty is a part of the world of fire. The beauty itself, and the teachers also told that we are speaking about this kind of beauty that pertains to the fire world. So you need to have this spark of soul in you. And once the soul is sparked, is on fire, that's when the consciousness is awakened. And once it's awakened, it starts to exhibit creativity according to the sound, according to the spatial fire. And what happens next? The fire year starts. Why is it the year of fire? Because the foot and the nidana of the monkey symbolizes the fire. But the fire element is hidden in the psychic energy, in the initial energy. And this initial energy of the thinker who is being awakened is referred to the beauty. And in the teachings, it said that not everybody has this sense of beauty. And why? Because it's true. Today, we are seeing that in this fire pit, our soul is being melted. And to be able to melt it, you need to do things. And so when you're active in your life, you become to resonate and to pertain to the sound of evolution. And then you're able to evolve to according to the energy, the female energy is at game. And the female energy symbolizes the energy of Shakti, the power of Shakti, which in us we have 6 powers of Shakti, and the 7th or the first is in the center always. So nature is symbolic, and it shows us the symbol of the 6 or 7 rays. And this is the nature of our senses that are a consequence of the obtained experience. And this experience in us, it's our knowledge. our wisdom. And the peak of our 6 principles show us our sensitivity, our sense of knowledge. They all have this principle. All these principles have their own colors, their own lights, so their own psychic energies, or the creative powers of what? Of thought that has an impulse of our will. And will and the common good starts to concentrate our attention according to the necessity of this condition, of the appearance of one of these rays that in us that are resonating with our feelings, and each feeling is unconditionally at the peak of each of the rays of the star that show us 6 directions of the space.
Paravitas are the 6 directions in the space. It's the perception by our mind, the perception that is in line with the senses, with the spatial fire. And it enables us to evolve and being able to have the preliminary feeling of what might happen in the future. In other words, our mind can perceive the existence. But to do that, we need to awaken consciousness, and only then our mind and consciousness will be calm when we accept various nidanas or energies or the cause and effect connection. And this will enable us to find the necessary cause to get better. There are 6 areas of space, dimensions of space. The first one is the orange one. It symbolizes the sacrifice. The first thing that happens when consciousness gets awakened is that human beings need to sacrifice their personal happiness, their personal wishes, and to give themselves for the common good. In other words, all the wishes should be dedicated for the common good. And for that, generosity is needed. Once human beings bow, they bow to the constellation of Pisces. The constellation of Pisces is here, and also there's the constellation of Aries, and it is the source of generosity. If you imagine it as a snake that bites its own tail, Pisces is the tail, and Aries is the head of the snake. And in order to bite its tail, the whole experience of spiritual feelings is taken to a new circle by the snake. We have past experience. We've lived through 60 years, for example, and our consciousness bites its own tail, or all the past experience, all the treasures of the past experience, including the spirit of understanding based on that experience. And it can happen every moment, every minute. Each minute has 60 seconds. Each minute a particular information is bitten like a tail. It can happen in various dimensions, but these various dimensions are not available to us yet, and we can use only the time that we have, because time is the fourth dimension as itself. And we use our experience in order to understand what we can accumulate in our cup. This is the feeling of knowledge is based on the past experience. The first parameter, the first sacrifice, goes for the common good. And if you do this, you reject all your past experience in order to get the new one. But the experience that you rejected does not disappear. It is still within yourself. It is like the flavor of personality. It's like the spiritual property, a particular property that stays with you until a particular time when humans start to create independently themselves and by themselves. And this experience supports in it. And it makes it possible to have a clairvoyant vision of what is going to happen in the future. And this experience is the foundation for the causes. That's why wise people never think of what will happen is going to happen in the future, but they're always in the cause and effect nature of the world. They always build the causes, but the consequences, the effect will come naturally, but they always build the new causes. That's why they say that you need to live every moment, every hour of your life in a new way. You should think in a new way. You should never stay within your opinion, within the idea that you've learned something, and that's it. You continue learning. That's why you're a disciple. There are 6 dimensions, directions in the space. If we have a look at the 4th one, which is just in front, just opposite the first space, it is the opposite one. It's opposite to the first space, opposite to the first paramida. In the first paramida, if you sacrifice all your experience for the common good, then you're generously gifted. You generously receive back. And what does it lead to? And the 4th parameter says that there shouldn't, that as a result, human beings don't get attached to the past. They don't follow the general chorus of the crowd. People are individuals. They are independent in their actions, and they always think and meditate on everything that happens in their lives. Human beings are always in the so-called mountainous world, as the teaching says. You should have the thought, the clear thought, the fiery thought of the mountainous world. But this thought can be manifested based only on the individual nature, on the individuality, and independent action is a necessary factor as a result. And we've relived this state, this direction of space. Those who were able to do that, they became more individualized. And in this area of space, there are 6 forces. Black dragon is one of the forces. It is warmth. Black snake is another nidana. It symbolizes twofold nature of consciousness. It's Jnana Shakti, horse, the blue horse, is Ijhaya Shakti, is the symbol of the will and fairness and law. The blue goat is the symbol of Kriya Shakti, the force of thought. The fiery monkey is the force of the Shakti Kundalini, and the fiery rooster is the Ijhaya Mantrika Shakti. These 6 forces can be present here, and Adi Shakti is the major force, and it's the fiery dog. The fiery dog symbolizes Adi Shakti. Also, the dog symbolizes the personality of the spirit, the sternness of the spirit, the intuition. These properties of the spirit are in the fiery nature. It is like an axis, and human beings are personalities that also have tough nature, which is manifested only after human beings get through all these 6 nidanas or forces. These 6 forces are in the parameters: the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth. And we operate these forces, we use them as tools to improve our ability to act independently. And we have entered the new direction of the space, where we need to learn about the body of Buddha. That would enable us to manage the space. You can see that this direction of the space is of yellow color. It's the Buddhi nature. Buddha's body tells us that human beings have become individualized. In other words, human beings have become monadas, and this is the same as acquiring the body of Buddha. Human beings have become creative. They are controlled by 2 energies. In the constellation of Scorpio, the black tiger and the black hare. The black tiger symbolizes previous year. It was under the solar energy. The solar ray symbolizes the idea of sacrifice, and it's also the source of the creative force. And the black tiger gives birth to the new thought, the new potentiality, new potential, the initial potential of life. And the cosmic property of the cause of the sound is also symbolized by that. But now we're living through the black hare year, and that symbolizes that human beings are monada, Buddhi human beings, and they have the ability to learn. And hare, as knowledge, gives this ability to learn about the existence. And human beings learn about the existence. In other words, they feed on the Buddha tree, or the fruits of wisdom. Some people use the fruits, the juices of Amrita, or the eternal life. Some people use leaves, some people use branches. And this is a unique year. As for the combination, I've already told you about the Aquarius epoch, the individualization of the consciousness, but now we need to open up our Buddhi nature potential. It's the solar energy that works not for itself, but it works for the human's common good, for the higher beauty and nature. That is why you can see that there are various wars that have been started by the darkness, and the darkness should be cleared, and all those wars are taking place on their land. But this all enables to eliminate chaos and bring everything to harmony in the end. We're living through the black hare year, and the month is the month of the red dragon. The red dragon month becomes the axis. It's also called the new Messiah of Buddha, Maitreya. This new Messiah, Maitreya, has Adi Shakti opposite it, or the fiery dog. This fiery dog, Adi Shakti, in the red dragon, gives birth to the access to the wisdom that will become the foundation for human beings, for their astral body. The astral body needs to acquire fiery astral senses. That's why the fiery dragon symbolizes the wisdom of the spirit. And around this wisdom of the spirit, the psychic essence of human beings is circulating, or the astral image of human beings. And this astral image should become of the fiery nature, so that it would be in line with the fiery world, and it will give birth to the sound of, to the voice of silence, which will give knowledge. This accumulated experience in our cup will start to dominate, and for that we need discipline. We need to make our will more disciplined, and we need to improve our senses in the Aquarius epoch. That's what is ahead of us. That is our task. And for the whole month, we can try to acquire this fire of wisdom, or the wisdom of the fiery dragon. And that will enable us to make the coming of the Maitreya closer. These are the three of the great Maya, the Christ, Buddha, and Memoria. Together, they are Maitreya, three in Maya, the great illusion that is trying to get us out of this illusionary perception of this world. This is high responsibility and trust that is given to us by eternity. This trust means that we are trusted with the overall initial psychic energy, this all initial fire that is manifested in humans' will. Humans have will to use this force that is property of humans' consciousness. When we use this fire, there is no personal individual psychic energy. It just doesn't exist. How can the initial overall energy be of individual nature? We cannot even imagine that. It is of the spatial fire, the spatial energy, and we are just within this fire, all of us. But it's not our personal energy. This is the fire of the spirit of consciousness and understanding. This fire enables us to get free from the illusions of this world. And as for the hierarchy, it is the beginning that is needed to accept our lower energy and to make it subordinate to our higher energy. All that is the hierarchy that is within us, and we need to develop it.
Yeah, to develop the world of fire, so the psychic energy, the psychic nature, and within it, our wisdom can become the principal driver of our mind. And the week of the blue boar meant the following. So this is, it calls for the theosophical mindset, because this color symbolizes the beginning of theosophy, of theosophical mindset, which is within the ray of space of moon. The moon of space is the sphere. Those are spheres that need to consonate, because you know the violet ray symbolizes sound. And the sound is the consonance of our mind. And this ray, there needs to be a consonance. And then they can, and then you can become harmonious with evolution. And the day is of the black snake. And the black snake, its initial energy, it's the initial energy of our mind. It has the quality of perception and identification. So you can identify the things that come your way, but also things that are eternal. So rational through your rationale and through meditation. So you have to make a choice here. What, which qualities of a thinker you will use to understand reality. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is a mystical revelation where everything is connected in a single thought. And for me, the main idea is that it's the state when you cannot lose the consonants. If you have the consonants, you begin to produce sounds to be consonant. And it's important because to be able to resonate with everybody, you need to have this united complex of the flow. And if you have it, you won't be mistaken. You will always be able to sense this feeling where this flow will take you eventually. As there won't be any unexpected things, because if you resonate and you move within these consonants, the only unexpected thing that will come your way is the delight. So this is a great nidana of the day that has shown us this evolution of thought according to the Secret Doctrine, the third stanza, third shloka, that begins very mysteriously with some mystic words. The darkness radiates light. So let's try to plunge ourselves and resonate with each of the thoughts we try to visualize today, and find some common threads that can become one eventually, and give this collection of threads begin moving and expanding. It has expanding and multiplying, and by multiplying it creates the understanding of all processes which are important, so that we can identify the process that is happening in our life, in our mind, to find our consonants. And when we start resonating in harmony, we will be able to consonate as individualities. So thank you again for this idea, for this presentation. And Kala Chakra is, so right as the law of karma and the law of the cycles. It's hard to move on from this Kala Chakra, but it's important because we need to connect it to stanza 3, Sloka 3. So the beautiful ideas that have already been mentioned, and perhaps give it a new perspective and fit it to the ideas that have been talked about during previous seminars. So, dear friends, let's resonate with each other. So, stanza 3, Sloka 3. Darkness radiates light, and light drops one solitary ray into the mother deeper. The ray shoots through the virgin egg. The ray causes the eternal egg to thrill and drops in eternal germ, which condenses into the world egg. So we will, just as usual, start with analyzing each word, each term written by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky in the stanza Diem. So darkness radiates light. The most important thing here is that darkness does not become light. It doesn't transform. Darkness already radiates light. Why? Because the movement has begun. Because darkness is static and light manifests movement, which is the ray. So, from the source, which is darkness, or space, the moment of light has begun, with the ray being dropped by the light at this moment. Why does darkness radiate light? Radiation is always power, and darkness is a source for the power of light. When does the light drop the ray? Light drops the ray when the mass of light is equal to the mass or the volume of the ray. That is, they are equal. Therefore, this ray is solitary because it has a force equal to light, or the entire space that is starting the movement at this moment. How does this happen? Force is the first three, the cause of the impulse, the cause of movement, or the cause of manifestation. If the light and the ray are equal at this moment, then the unity has occurred. Let us observe this state. The state of unity of the three forces corresponds to third stanza of first shloka. So, 3 and 3 amounting to 6. When merging together, they become one, that is 6 in 1, or 7. This way, we will use this idea to understand the free nature of light. So this way, 3 forces of light and 3 forces of ray merge into one, into 6. They become one, or solitary. And this one falls, and then this fall becomes 7. So here's the key point. So this falling isn't a lower or denser state. This is a change caused by necessity. Therefore, light drops the ray. It can no longer hold it in its space since it has become equal to it, and it drops it again. And at the moment of falling, it becomes 7. It is alone or solitary, since it is the entire space at this moment. It fills this space with itself. One solitary ray falls into the mother deep, not just into her bosom or matter, but precisely into her depth, meaning by the force of penetration, he impetuously enters the mother deep, drops, or touches the germ and penetrates through it. The key point. The germ rests in the depth, and in order to reach it, this instantaneous fusion of darkness, light, and ray is necessary. The force of aspiration changes the state when the ray falls or the light drops it. And the state of unity of the three forces, three lights and three rays, 3 plus 3 equals 6 in one. When merging, they fall, and in this falling, they become 7. So this is the discovery that helps us understand some of the words. So, and the cosmos arising from arises, which is the first manifestation of thought, the septenary thought, because the cosmos is arising from and within the boundless space. What does it mean? From is a light, so it's threefold force. Inside is the ray, it's threefold force. Ray and the light, or a ray of light. What is it? A ray of light is a line along which light propagates. Such a definition resides in the geometric optics of the beam. Radiant energy is the cursor or movement of a light beam. Light is a wave phenomenon, so there is diffraction happening. If the beam of light exceeds the wavelength, then it propagates in one single direction, in the direction along the ray of light, because the ray of light is a line indicating the direction of propagation of light energy. We understand that sunlight consists of colored rays. This was established by Isaac Newton. In 1754, Newton performed an ingeniously simple experiment. He let the sunlight bite through a small hole in the shutter into a darkened room and placed a glass prism in its path. The prism refracted the rays of the sun and directed them to the pole, on which a multicolored stripe appeared. And this multicolored stripe of decomposed white light Newton called a spectrum, from Latin spectrum, or visible. So now we are trying to use Newton's conclusions to connect them to the conclusions and the commentary of Helena Blavatsky. So Newton's conclusions is that solar or white light is light consisting of 7 colors. The decomposition of sunlight by a triangular prism is explained by the fact that individual colored rays are refracted differently. Red rays are the least refracted, and violet rays are the most refracted. Why is that? And here we have an explanation. Red, as we know, is a symbol of the spirit, and violet is a symbol of space. The spirit, as the concentrated energy or ray, is less refractive, and the space ray accepts and refracts the one into many. That's why the red rays are the least refracted. The order of colors in the spectrum is always the same, and it's called the Newton's color circle. The spectrum served as the basis for the systemization of colors in the form of a circular scheme in which Newton identified 7 sectors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. And some years after, in 1807, the English scientist Thomas Young made another important discovery. White light can be obtained by mixing only 3 colors of rays: red, green, and blue. It turns out that the rest of the colors of the spectrum, as well as their shades, can be obtained by mixing red, green, and blue. But no mixing of other colors can get red, green, and blue colors. And if the light rays are limited to a certain surface in space, then we will get a light beam. So let us take the Newton's color circle a circle with the colors of the light spectrum and rotate it at a certain speed. As a result of this experiment, we will see that the disk has a white color. So 10 revolutions per second corresponds to 3,600 degrees. 12 corresponds to 4,320 degrees. So 5 right there in the central disk. And 20 corresponds to 7,200 degrees. So all these numbers we received by looking at the Newton's color circle, they have an esoterical meaning. And if in the way of this light rays we put two prisms, we will receive a white color. Let's direct red, blue, and green light from three identical light sources to the screen so they overlap. And where all these colors overlap, we see white. Red, green, and blue are the basic or primary colors of the spectrum. The three main colors used in painting are red, yellow, and blue, and they don't match the main colors of light. But by mixing these colors, you can get almost any color except white. And if we mix all three primary colors in equal proportions, we will get black. The colors of the rainbow are arranged in this order: violet, blue, light blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Then there is a strip in which the eye doesn't distinguish colors. Sometimes it even seems darker than the rest of the sky, against which a rainbow is visible. But behind the strip, the upper rainbow begins. In it, the order of the colors is reversed. So it goes from red to violet. And it has an essential importance that will be discussed later. Interestingly, our astronauts and their impressions after seeing the Earth for the first time. And now in Russia, we have a film called Signal that also speaks about cosmos. So when Yuri Gagarin has seen the Earth for the first time, he said, the Earth has a very characteristic, very beautiful blue halo. This halo is clearly visible when you observe the horizon, a smooth transition from the pale blue color to the blue, purple, and completely black color of the sky. And the first Ukrainian cosmonaut Leonid Kadeniuk has also described his impression of the view of the Earth from space. There are no words within which you can describe what you have seen, an extremely large number of very diverse colors, but the main shade of the Earth is blue. So this is another description and how the aura of the Earth, the blue aura of the Earth, which it has been discovered by our astronauts. So we have considered the light rays, and the transformation of light and color, the law of lights. We know that the sources of light are bodies emitting light, whose particles, atoms, molecules, and ions emit light. Consequently, at this moment in the evolution of the universe, a body of space was formed, which has become a source of light. If all this seen
If all visible bodies reflect light, and when light is reflected, two laws of light reflection are fulfilled. The first one, the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the perpendicular to the reflection surface drawn from the point of incidence of the ray all lie in the same plane. And the second one, the angle of reflection is equal to the angle of incidence. Hence, the main conclusions are: the reflected ray lies in the same plane as the incident ray and is perpendicular to the surface drawn to the point of incidence. 2. The angle of reflection of the ray is equal to the angle of incidence. 3. Light rays have the property of reversibility. And 4. The homogeneous transparent media, light propagates in a straight line. The key point, light and darkness of a single space became a homogeneous transparent medium, which gave the basis for the rectilinear propagation of light, or ray line, the direction in which this light began its movement. The following laws: the refraction law and the reflection law. The refraction is a change in the direction of a ray wave that occurs at the boundary of two media through which the ray passes, or in the same medium, but with changing properties in which the wave propagation velocity is not the same. Simultaneously with the reflection of waves at the interface of media, as a rule, the refraction of waves occurs, except in cases of complete internal reflection. So we can notice the identity of the processes described in the stanza of Zion and the laws of physics, the key point. At the moment of the emission of light by darkness and the fall of the ray, there was no change in the direction of the ray, refraction of light, since there was no propagation of light waves, and accordingly different speeds. At that moment, the speed was the same because there was no separation or boundary of the two media, and there was no reflection as such, since there was a complete internal reflection, and light dropped the ray at the moment, at that particular moment. Now let's have a look at the comments that describe these universal events in the following way. The creator of the male principle originates from the virgin female principle. Virgin female principle is space or circle. The virgin egg is a dot in the circle. The creator of the male principle is a vertical line or ray. What do we mean? Light is the unmanifested logos. Light drops a solitary ray. Depth is the mother's bosom. A solitary ray falling into the mother deep can be taken as meaning a divine thought or mind fertilizing chaos. Hence, the ray is a thought or mind fertilizing chaos. Then, for what purpose? In order to manifest or take shape or materialize into an acceptable form, and this form will be a man. Let's try and study how Newton's laws described above confirm the laws of the creation of the universe, space, nature, and man. According to a stanza of Zion, the following happens. The ray shoots through the virgin egg, the ray causes the eternal egg to thrill, and drops the germ, the non-eternal, which condenses into the world egg. The ray shoots through the virgin egg. The ray causes the eternal egg to thrill and drops the germ, the non-eternal, the periodic one. This ray is white, or perfect, ideal. We can also say that it's absolute. From that ray, 7 prismatic rays emanate and become one with it again. The ray is manifested in connection with the triangle. The triangle is the first perfect geometric figure. The ray descending from the Sloka of nether world, gives birth to number 1, then branching off to the right, produces the number 2, turns, forming the baseline, and generates the number 3. From that, it ascends again to the number 1 and disappears into the realm of non-being. Triangle is the first differentiation, and all its sides are drawn by one ray. Darkness emanates light. The light drops a solitary ray into the mother deep. The ray shoots through the virgin egg. The virgin egg has the quality of differentiation, so it is not eternal. The virgin egg, being in one sense an abstraction of all ova, or power developing through fertilization, is eternal and always the same. And just as the fertilization of an egg takes place before it falls out, so the non-eternal periodic germ, which later becomes a world egg in symbolism, contains in itself when it arises from this symbol, the hope and power of the entire universe. And I'd like to dwell a little bit on this page of the presentation, because here it seems that there is some controversy in the comments. The fertilization of the egg takes place before it gets dropped, it falls out. It means that there's been a change in the state. Why this world egg in symbolism that used to be the periodic germ in the very beginning, why does it contain it hope and power of the entire universe? They say that there was the condensation of the world egg. What does it mean? It became more dense, or in other words, it started to shape its form. When the virgin egg has the quality of differentiation, it means that it is not eternal, but at the same time, it is always within one state. We're talking about the state of the space that at this particular moment of time has internal changes. They are not manifested. Everything takes place within, and it is reflected. And this geometry that you can see on the page, one egg is inside another egg, which is inside another egg. All that has its own reflection. There are changes on the inside, but on the outside, it is the same. It stays the same because it is eternal. The key point, the fertilization of the germ has taken place, and it has become the hope and power of the entire universe. Why, at that point of time, it became the world egg. The golden egg, manifesting the power of the universe in its sevenfold character, was surrounded by 7 elements, 4 out of which were manifested: ether, fire, air, water, and 3 elements were concealed. Ahamkara mentions 7 elements, but does not define the last 3 of them. Now we'll try and use this table or scheme to see how everything is connected. We have 4 elements: ether, fire, air, water, 4 races, 4 circles, and 4 bodies of man's consciousness: physical body, ethereal double, astral body, and lower manus. 5, 6, and 7 elements. It means that the earth receives fire, air, water, and ether. We're living through the 5th race, the 5th sub-race. Not everything is manifested. The 5th race, 5, 6, and 7 races are not completely manifested. The same is true for the circles 5, 6, and 7, and the body of consciousness 5, 6, and 7, higher manas, buddhi, and atma. Once the 5th race is completed, once the 5th element is revealed, or once the 5th circle starts, then the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th bodies will become one. The eternal egg in the state of laya, or 0 point, preceding differentiation. The ray causes the eternal egg to thrill and drops the germ, which condenses into a world egg. The virgin egg, after the ray shot through it, became a germ that differentiates into a point in the world egg. In other words, the virgin egg is a microcosmic symbol of the macrocosmic prototype of the Virgin Mother, chaos or eternal depth. A dot in the world egg, or potential abstract triangle, unmanifested, is a perfect triangle, a dot in the world egg. The second ray returns to emit the third ray. That's what Blavatsky says in her comments. The key point is the branching of the ray beyond this circumference is revealed by the necessity of the law of manifestation. It is the combination of two opposite forces for fertilization of the germ, external force and internal forces, both male and female energies. And only the combination of these forces will give rise to a third force, which is the ray and the force of simultaneous fusion. The creator of the male principle under any name comes from the virgin female principle, the immaculate root fertilized by the ray. With further differentiation, it condenses into a world egg, which is sevenfold like the world. Blavatsky says the radii at the same time are directed from the thinker in all directions, and the centers are everywhere. The centers of the world consciousness. And they have their own world. So the centers are everywhere and the circle is nowhere, because the circle disappears. The idea per se, of course, is an abstraction, a symbolic way of expression, and nevertheless it is a true symbol, because it presupposes the idea of infinity as an infinite circle. Let's have a look at the definition given by Blavatsky. The divine thought is the first, the unmanifested logos. The second logos is the ray that shoots through, it's the center of the germ. And the third logos, it's the threefold, the cause, the divine thought, that turns into cosmos. The cosmos is a fertilized egg, because it perceives nature, but at the same time it remains immaculate or boundless. The process of evolution of the cosmos is accomplished by virtue of heat, water, and the life of the creative spirit. If we look at this diagram, at the picture on the screen, we'll see how this heat perceives this moisture and how this moisture gives life to the creative spirit. The conclusion is the following. The thrill that hitherto touched the entire space has now reached the eternal egg, which is concentrated infinity. It has now reached to the circumference, the eternal egg, or the place where the fertilization of the germ will begin. In order for the circumference to appear, in order for the limits to appear, the eternity needed to be concentrated. The infinity needed to be concentrated. This is the law of the movement in action. Once there was the basis of the space, once it was formed, ready to receive the ray, the three-force penetrates the virgin egg, reaches the germ, two and one fused together, it becomes the first world egg 3 and 3, and it becomes sevenfold. The emblem of eternity is a snake biting its tail. It is the secret of self-birth, giving birth to itself from itself. The snake bit its tail. The process of evolution of the cosmos is accomplished thanks to heat, moisture, and the life of the creative spirit. The Ouroboros is an ancient mystical symbol that, through the figure of snake or dragon eating its own tail, depicts the concept of eternity. The image of Ouroboros is in the form of a circle is in semiotics, the science of science, symbolizes the constant evolution and movement of life, in addition to other meanings such as self-fertilization, resurrection, creation, destruction, and renewal. The conclusions. Darkness radiates light. That is self-fertilization. And light drops one solitary ray into the waters, into the mother deep. That is resurrection. And the ray shoots through the virgin egg. That is the creation. The ray causes the eternal egg to thrill, that is destruction, and drops the germ non-eternal, which condenses into the world egg, that is regeneration. What can we say in conclusion of stanza 3, Sloka 3? The brief general thought of this, that is when the evolution has begun. Thank you. We tried to formulate the major thought for all the nidanas according to Kala Chakra. We hope that we were able to connect everything into one concept so that this light would be perceived subjectively and objectively, but most importantly, it is on the border of the flow of evolution. Thank you so much for staying with us. We have questions that we received in the chat, and also we received questions directly live in WhatsApp. If you don't mind, I'd like to read you aloud some of these questions, and Vladimir Vasilyevich will help me with answering the questions. In the comments to stanza, it says that the virgin egg is eternal. In the comments to Secret Doctrine, it says that the virgin egg already has its properties. It means it's differentiated, but it is the same. But how can differentiated and eternal be connected into one? Well, I would draw you a comparison, and I would compare it to the breathing of the eternal life. The eternity itself has its own continuity, and within its duration, continuity, it is cyclical. That is how I would answer to you. It contains everything. It is the cause and effect. If human beings have independent action, when humans are capable of answering those vibrations, responding to those vibrations, they are close to the eternity. And getting close to the eternity makes us invisible, or rather invincible. Thank you. We even tried to answer this question during the presentation when we were showing you the state, the internal change of the state. It presupposes this conceptuality, and it seems that there is a controversy because on the one hand it's eternal because it is located in the eternity, but the changes take place on the inside. So there are there is differentiation on the inside, and Sloka 3 demonstrates to us how it happens.
The next question: why is the beam itself is dropped, but then the ray, falls into the germ? What do you think, Mr. Yari? You have just seen a scheme when the ray becomes prismatic. When if we transfer this to a human, how this is happening? Because if you take a person, he is creative. He bears this creative ray within. So where does it come from? It's because when this germ becomes mature, so when you have heard something or read something, you are focused on something, and when this focus has come full circle, then this creative energy of this ray begins doing things. And in this creativity lays the pluralism of ideas. So you have one image, but it can have different plural reflections. And I think it's important when studying the Secret Doctrine, the first volume. It's important to have creativity, to let your imagination run wild. And this gives you an impulse to understand how this can be. The ray of light falls and drops. At this moment, the ray does not belong to itself. It follows the law. It doesn't act from its own volition. It has transcended his ego. And the same goes for humans. When you lose your ego for a higher purpose, for a higher idea, you transcend yourself, your existence, and then you drop the germ. And the germ is the ideas, your creative ideas. So this is what is happening. This is the consonance with the spatial fire. The next question: when does the virgin egg becomes a world egg? Well, when the necessity arises. Well, if we look at the commentary, it happens when the ray touches the germ. So it touches the germ and gives it life at this moment. It had three folds when I tried to save this. It's monadic, primal basis, and within this touch gives the germ the moisture, the warmth, and life itself. But it's not manifested yet. When this touch happens, it gives an impulse to the first threefold power to start the movement and give the twofold power. And at this point, the Persian egg becomes the world egg. The next question is what is implicit in the words hope and power of the whole universe? Well, we have already said something similar. We have lightly touched upon this in the presentation. We have talked a lot about this. Why is basically it's in reality what is hope? What is power of the whole universe? How does it move later? What it's based upon? How it manifests? How does it exist? And here I had an idea about the manifestation and what is implicit in the words hope and power. Here we have the power of the new rays, hope for something new and power of something new. And the power of this race can combat all obstacles on its way. And when the ray penetrates, it can in the universe or in the mind creates a sort of air tunnels that are empty. And these empty spaces expand your thinking process. You begin, or the powers of the universe, they begin, acting consciously. So the conscientiousness and conscient action is implicit in the words hope and power. Another important question is what is if light is stopped by darkness, is it also multifarious? Well, darkness is the light. Light is for the mind, and darkness is for the feelings. And of course, darkness contains everything. So the true light also contains everything. In the comments, we have already talked about darkness and darkness as being the source of light, the reason of light. But you see that darkness isn't multifarious. It cannot be multifarious because only light has multiple facets, because the light creates correlation, unity, these relations with colors and lights. So light is multifarious, but darkness is static, and it's homogeneous. Darkness is a great source of light, but the reason that is within the darkness is light. Question to Vladimir Yari: what is the meaning of light and how does it affect a person's character? Color is the character of human or a person, because each person is born under a certain light ray. First is Manvantara, then during his life, when he goes through the circle of life, he is born under a new ray, a new energy. But this is necessary to adapt all the light he encounters and then to become white, like in the prism. A white ray goes through the prism and then it goes through the second prism and becomes white. So this is the cycle a human needs to go through. He needs to receive all the 7 colors, to have all the potentials of his nature uncovered. And I think if we talk about the character of a person, there is a form of human, and this is the most convenient form for this idea to be reflected in the evolution of cosmos and the evolution of humanity. So the physical world can conceive the energy of thought, and it happens right now, because humanity can at this moment see how this existence, how this form is being changed, because when the physical world begins to understand the energy of thought of the fine material, it begins to change, it becomes more great, it becomes thinner. And then the person's character, of course, changes. He becomes more refined, flexible. So this is very connected, because this is how the energy of thought acts. And I would also like to add that a person's character, if you take a colored ray or the planet he was born under, so this is like a metric system, like a Camerton. And not everybody can, have individuality, because you need to have individuality to be able to manifest it. And this is when the aura of a human comes into, because when this aura is being colored by an individual ray, then the person is able to, attract all the other rays and colors. And he creates the conditions, the person who was individualized. And this individualization, the person comes through all the circles to obtain all the rays along the way. So another question from the chat: how does the virgin egg differ from the chaos? And if it's true, how does it differ? Well, first of all, chaos is being harmonized. The virgin egg, the differentiation is happening in the virgin egg, the harmonization of chaos, and that's the difference. And the difference is the state, because at first there was chaos, and then it became the fertilized chaos. So of course there is a difference. So is there a limit to the virgin egg and then to the world egg? No, there are no limits to any eggs. The virgin, the world egg, they don't have any limits. And this is the essence of unlimited existence, just like the breath, because the horizons don't change, they're limitless. You've seen the concentrated centers of energy, and you've seen the, six faceted star, and then this ray started to expand and became one. The virgin egg is different from the world egg, but I sense that they both cannot have, because this is a part of a change of state of space. This is a state of change, like a mirror effect, another mystery of existence. An anonymous question from a participant of this seminar. We thank you all for the questions. So is existence threefold? Physical material? Is it, a part of something? Well, it's energy. We're talking about energy, and each substance has energy. And matter manifests a certain energy from a vibration. I had an idea, the question is if the matter is threefold or no. We're talking about the causality of this threefold. This is the concentration of matter. Matter or space, or the foundation. Matter is the foundation of the spirit. It accumulates everything. It's just like space. This is a completely different idea. The threefold power. Spirit and matter is the same existence, because the spirit cannot manifest without matter, and matter without spirit is latent. We can't call it matter without spirit. And you talked about information. Is it also threefold? So is it like information, matter, and spirit are part of this threefold, according to this anonymous question. But if you talk about matter, it's also always manifested or unmanifested, but it's the foundation of transformation. So at first, the evolution is when the spirit is being materialized in the point, and then the matter is being spiritualized. But it's all a part of this circle, of this highly dense concentration and this union. And the information you've mentioned is also a kind of matter. It's matrix, the layers of Akashi. These layers of Akashi that are needed for Ifar and Fahad to obtain this threefold energy that will be used to manifest the septenary or the first thought that will become cosmos. So now, if we are in the third stanza, third shloka of the first volume of Cosmogenesis, we are talking about terms that are unmanifested. Those aren't the world terms. They're universal ideas, whole cycles that have their own manifest correlations up and down. I would also like to add that it's important to understand the essence of the word matter and spirit when they are together. Spirit and matter, they are whole. And spirit and matter, they also mean that something, a third part will appear. Thank you. So can we say that the white ray is the new ray of the new era? Well, for the new Manvantara, For the new era, of course, differentiation is happening with this white ray, and the white ray is the reason of existence. And of course, it contains information within itself and new ideas. So the divine thought that should expand on one of the planes of human existence. There is a common phrase that the new world is coming in the armor of the new race. And where do these rays come from? This is quality, and the quality of light is determined by knowledge, whether you like it or not, because evolution is unified. Of course, there's individual evolution, but it's happening within the whole evolution. And the white ray we're talking about is the foundation. It's the main ray for all the Mahamandara, but you can compare it to the human organism. When a human is born, he doesn't have an aura. It's either white or transparent because he wasn't colored by the quality of light. And the same goes for the white ray. This is a newborn image, the newborn energy of the absolute light that pierces, gives an impulse that touches the germ. And then there is limitless, eternal, multiplied correlation of forms. And in the armor of new race, this is a new form of unity. It's more beautiful, more refined. The colors, sound, the form, they all are closer to the more spiritual world. And this world is so beautiful in its colors and its transformations that the form itself, the form of the earth, becomes better. And as the earth changes the human mind. And this is how cycles are happening in the armor of new race. This is the new earth, the new consciousness. And I'd like also to add the white ray obtains colors when there is some sort of new experiences in your life. And at this point, these rays are colored. The aura is being colored depending on the impressions you have from your experience. So the white aura, it was transparent, and then suddenly it begins to obtain colors when you go through something, when you suffer or you feel.
The next question is again about the white ray. What is inside and what is outside of the white ray? The white ray has everything inside it, and that everything is in accordance with the necessity of those feelings, the differentiation, the world of senses. Everything is part of this white ray, and it's manifested through the property of human beings, the quality of human beings to learn, the learning ability that is based on these feelings, on this experience that accumulates. So this is the color spectrum of this ray. Inside this white ray, there's the space that has its own properties, the properties of the consciousness. And outside of the white ray, there's also the space. And once it's connected, the properties of light, of sound, of space and consciousness change. Also, we've received a question on the aura of human beings. It's well known that humans' aura also has light, or rather color, and how is it connected to the rays that you were talking about today? I've answered this question just a moment ago. When the experience accumulates, the color of the aura changes. It depends on our wishes, our will, it depends on cause and effect, and on our experience. And all that gives the so-called rainbow to our aura. Aura is a game of color, of rays, of human light emanation. This is the major principle of the cosmic flow. Based on that principle, the reasonable actions are built. If we learn about that, we can make our aura harmonious and of light colors if we take only reasonable actions. Another question. The comments tell us about Alaya, which gives origin to the light, but you didn't talk about that. What is Alaya? Alaya is the universal soul. It's Akasha, it's Mula Prakriti. It's the root of the nature. And it's impossible to not to speak about that. Well, I guess we touched upon that, but we didn't focus too much on that today. The major attention was given to the ray, to the light, to the stanza, and also it just occurred to me, Alaya that originates light. Alaya is a non-place. It is limited by the idea that it is not a place. These are the wings that cannot fly. They are chained. Once the light is manifested, Alaya manifests this light. It is the concentrated eternity, endlessness, and these wings that used to be chained, they get filled with this light. And Alaya that used to be non-place becomes a place that can be manifested in the unlimited numbers. Alaya, as a soul of the universe, is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It manifests the place or the soul, its place for life. Another question, if everything evolves and develops, will there be any changes to the spectrum of colors? So we showed to you that the spectrum of colors is the same. It was we looked at that through the laws of Newton. Light changes depending on the cycles, on the evolutionary flow. If human beings want to be in line with the laws of unity, the laws of truth, they can change the spectrum of their own color by jumping into the light. And then it all changes once you are within this light. And these changes to the light, they also get upgraded, they also change, but individually within each human being. And for that, we need the independent action. Another question that we've received, just a second. In the presentation, you told us a lot about the light. Does light have particles, or is it a pure wave? I'd say that light manifests the particles. It manifests forms. It's the form that gets lightened up. The light itself, the true light, is invisible. Once there's a form, the light gets reflected, and that's how it's manifested and it becomes visible. I think it's movement. It's the movement of the particles. Particles are not there. Particles is what this space consists of. Light just lightens them up. And I liked that you said that light is a pure wave. I like this phrase. This flow of light always continuously changes, and the wave never repeats itself. It's always new, and light in its variety always gives us a new wave, the new wave that never repeats itself. These are new experiences. This is a new day, new cycles, and we live within this cycle nature. And there's one property of this wave. It's the property of consciousness or light, which means that you can fly together with this wave. When you fly along this wave, you turn into this particle of light. You turn into this particle, and you become this pure wave. And particles of light are atoms. Atom is the symbol of consciousness or a form. Another two questions that remain. Knowledge about cycles since ancient times have been the secret knowledge, but for some reason they haven't been revealed. Did Blavatsky reveal this knowledge in the Secret Doctrine? Well, for sure, it is impossible to give you a definite answer because the law of relativity is still in place. So you need to be Blavatsky to be able to identify these cycles. In the ancient times, they used circles to identify the cycles. And these circumferences that you can see, they are present on Kala Chakra, and they reflect the properties of the cycles. But the secret of the cycles lies in the hands of the enlightened. So in Shambhala, this secret is not for human beings. Everything is relatable, relative. There are three worlds. And there's also our perception of humanity, of the cycle. The cycle depends on the state of humanity. And it's true for all the cycles. They can be prolonged and they can be shortened. As for the knowledge about the cycles, if the cycles are relative, if the periods of time can change, then how human beings that are within these cycles can define these cycles. The change of cycles takes place. Human beings feel this change. They try to measure it in their consciousness. And the true change of cycles takes place once happiness appears, and this happiness originates in line with the common good. It's not, it doesn't originate on the individual level. So that's when the cycle changes. That's when the changes occur. And the final question for today to Vladimir, the update of evolution, is it in line with the update of the consciousness of human beings, and how is it manifested? How is it reflected? Evolution, it's the flow. It has the elliptic form. It has a wavy nature. It goes up and down. That's how the consciousness or the mind evolves. And this cyclical nature can be connected to the age psychology. Once we understand it, we'll get closer to the understanding of life. Once we understand life, we have fulfilled the main purpose of the evolution of human mind. And That's when the secret of death is also revealed to us. And the secret of death lies in the endlessness, in the lack of death. And since we've touched upon the happiness, this renewal takes place when the amazement takes place. Amazement is one of the non-egoistic feelings. If we divide all the feelings into egotistic ones and non-egotistic ones, amazement is one of the least egotistic ones. Whether you're poor or rich, this feeling of amazement is the same. Why is it so? The property becomes more dense and it causes the vibrations that cause the amazement. And you can be amazed by the high level property that can be found everywhere in our lives, in everyone that we meet on everyday basis. The ability to see an amazing quality in someone that amazes you, that is renewal. That's how you renew and update your consciousness by the least egotistic feeling. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. And the thought of the day can be applied, that can be applied to what we've been talking right now about who's the great man, he who's strongest and patient, he who patiently endures injury and maintains a blameless life. He's a man indeed. Each of us can heal ourselves through our consciousness, and it is possible. And such discussions, such general informative discussions, when we are within one information field, when we can start to understand something new, some new facets, and that by answering questions, and that really amazes us because it enables us to understand better the foundations of the great teachers of Agni Yoga, of Kala Chakra, of Blavatsky, and this is the renewal of the evolution. This is the concluding thought for stanza 3, Sloka 3. We congratulate you both with this flow of renewal. We hope that it did take place today. We hope that we were able to get the necessary consonants. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you next time on the 27th of May. We invite you to take part in the final seminar for this season, and we'll start the preparation work for the International Theosophic Congress on the city on Seven Hills, the city of Moscow. Please prepare with us together. We're waiting for your applications. The 24th of November, the 25th and the 26th of November will also be the dates for our renewal and happiness. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being active, asking us questions, and thank you for taking part in the chat. Thank you. Translators, thank you. And we extend our gratitude to the technical support.
The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Dedicated to all true Theosophists. Book of the Third Millennium.
Blavatsky only knew.